Hey guys, what's good? You are watching Gion's solo review of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But before we get started, just want to make sure that you smash that like button, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, ring the bell if you are. Welcome to the channel if you're new. First off, full disclosure, I've never been a big Spider-Man fan. Never really read the comics as a kid, didn't really own much memorabilia, merchandise, whatever. He was just never, for whatever reason, I think part of it was my older brother. He's a big like X-Men, Wolverine, Punisher fan, so because he was into it, I was into those characters as well, and he's the person that got me into comic books. So I never really got into the Spider-Man universe or any of the lore behind it. I think that helps with my opinion of this movie because my expectations were, I don't want to say lower than the average Spider-Man fan, but they were in a different place. I just want to say I loved it. I had an amazing time watching this. From the animation style, which is different, you know, you don't really see animation like this, especially for comic book related films, to the characters themselves. You know, this is the first time we're introduced to Miles Morales. He's a POC Spider-Man. And the way they explain it too, it wasn't like, okay, let's just change the race of a character, which we see happening. We see it with the Aquaman film that just came out, you know, although that wasn't necessarily done on purpose. But Miles Morales becomes Spider-Man in his universe because Peter Parker dies. So Peter Parker exists, and he has a Spider-Man, and everybody knows it. And you have your J. Jonah Jamesons, and, you know, Miles' dad hates Spider-Man because he doesn't respect him being a vigilante and taking the law into his own hands the way that he does. So he's got merchandise, you know, there's comic books, all these things exist with Spider-Man, and even Miles Morales himself is a fan. He ends up taking the mantle from the fallen Spider-Man in this universe. We get to see a new origin story told. It's not the same old Uncle Ben dying, you know, the Mary Jane stuff, etc., etc. Like all the stuff that when we see a new character, you know, we always have to rehash everything. It's organically done, which is really great. And I think it's a testament to the things you can get away with because of animation. You know, the schedule that you have because of animation. You know, you don't have to worry about someone getting sick. You don't have to worry about someone getting hurt, potentially dying even, things like that. You know, someone just having a bad day where you have to reshoot everything. Daniel might argue that, you know, it's not filmmaking per se, but it's still storytelling. And I liked it so much, it made me question if, you know, is doing live action for these comic book properties the right way to go? I felt just as great watching this as I would, you know, the Avengers or any of the other superhero films that I really love. That's how good this movie was, you know. And I've seen other animated superhero films, like DC puts out a lot of straight to DVD stuff, and it just doesn't hit the same. It's still good, but they're using voice actors, not known entities. Like in this film, we have Mahershala Ali plays the Prowler. We have Brian Tyree Johnson from Atlanta playing Miles' dad. We have Shameik Moore playing Miles. We have, I can't remember her name, Lauren Velez. Luna Lauren Velez playing Miles' mom. There's Nicolas Cage is in this film. But the story starts with Miles is going to a new boarding school within New York City. So he has to like stay at this school during the week, and then he goes back home on the weekends to Brooklyn where he's from. But he's not happy about it because he's the street kid who's just too smart and got a scholarship to this place. So his parents are the one forcing him to go there. He escapes, he sneaks out and he hooks up with his uncle, and you could tell that his dad and his uncle aren't really like cool with each other because his uncle's, we find out later his uncle's a criminal. He's doing some shady stuff working for the Kingpin. Miles idolizes this guy in a certain way. He does graffiti because of him. He teaches him, you know, they go to a spot where he like bombs a wall and does an art piece because his uncle's into it. He got him into it. And it's like the hip hop culture is a major part of this film, you know, which is really cool. Like it's subtle too. It's not, you don't get hit over the head with it. It just feels like, it felt like New York City. It feels like the New York City I thought of when I was younger, you know, like the backpacking, the spray painting, the B-boys, so on and so forth. And you get to really see the landscape of New York City. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, who's animated pretty weird, you know, they made him this huge, like he's like, it looks like he's 10 feet tall. Looks like a hunchback too, because his back is so huge it like goes over his head. Voiced by Liev Schreiber, by the way, another great actor. He is trying to get his wife and child back who died, and he meets his doctor who believes that alternate universes exist and is trying to find a way to tap into these alternate universes. And by doing so, it opens up these portals that sucks in all the Spider-Men from the different universes. And this is also Kingpin can get his wife and his son back who died in a car crash. At his fault as well, because Spider-Man, he was beating up Spider-Man, and they see like the animal that he really is. And then we just see everything unfolds that way. We see like the different repercussions. The Spider-Man from different universe getting sucked in here, they only have a limited amount of time before they disintegrate because they're not supposed to be there. Them not being able to stay in this universe greatly affects their health. So they all need to destroy this machine and go back home, or else they're gonna die. And obviously the only person at the end who can save them and make sure that they all get back is Miles, the new Spider-Man. And he's also reluctant. That's the other really cool part about it, is you see that he's got these powers and he's not happy about it. He just wants to be a regular kid, which comes into the "with great power comes great responsibility" line that we all know from all the other Spider-Men. Really, really cool movie. If you haven't watched it yet and you decided to watch the spoilers, I didn't give away too much, obviously. I highly recommend it. This, might be my favorite comic book movie of the year, and that's including Avengers. Part of it is also the personal reasons, like Miles is half Puerto Rican, half black kid. My son's half Puerto Rican, so when he's older, he's got a Spider-Man. He's got someone he can relate to. Which is really cool. I never had a superhero I could relate to. A lot of us, Latino kids, there's no superheroes out there for us. We have athletes and whatnot, but it's cool. Like, if you're into this medium, you always looked up to, you were always really a big fan of a white character, sometimes a black character, or an alien character. But now, you got somebody. And a popular guy, too. He's going to be around. There's going to be a sequel. At the end of the movie, there's a teaser for Spider-Man 2099, so he's going to get introduced somehow in the sequel. My only regret about this film is that it's doing so well and that it's good. And I know it sounds kind of counterproductive, but I want Marvel to get all their characters back so that they can really just destroy the world with every single option that they have. And while Sony still has the rights to these characters, it limits Marvel, although they have X-Men and Fantastic Four to go along with their existing roster. But it still limits them to a certain extent. They can't use Venom. They can't use Carnage. They can't use Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery. He's got some of the greatest and most iconic villains around, and who cross over with your other characters as well. So that's the way I look at it. But this movie was really good, and I think maybe that's what it took. It took Sony making an animated feature to really nail the notes they needed to, especially with a relatively new character. Miles has only been around 7 years or so in the comic book universe. Rating-wise, I give this a 9 out of 10. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Smash that like button, subscribe. Make sure you check out my Aquaman review that will be coming out after this one.